Do you want elections? Do you want advanced elections? We are going to the parliamentary elections then.
Embattled Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro calls for early parliamentary elections. But will it be enough to stem calls for him to resign? Hello, I'm Anand Naidu, and this is The Heat. Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro is facing challenges on multiple fronts, including massive anti-government demonstrations, the defection of a general, and a growing list of countries calling for new elections or for him to step aside. Juan Guaido, who heads the opposition-controlled National Assembly, has won the backing of the United States and a host of other nations since declaring Maduro illegitimate and himself interim president. Well, there is much to sort out. To help us, we turn now to CGTN Stephen Gibbs. He's in Caracas. And Stephen, it's a fast-moving story. What's the latest there?
Well, the very latest is one of the issues is on this issue of parliamentary elections. President Maduro is suggesting that he was prepared to hold parliamentary elections, but the opposition doesn't see that as an offer. It sees it more as a threat because it would potentially disband the National Assembly, the opposition-controlled parliament here, which has really been the vehicle for Juan Guaido to launch his rival presidency. If they did hold parliamentary elections, that would be shut down. So the opposition very unlikely to accept that offer. We were expecting perhaps in the last hour or so parliamentary elections to be called by the government, but they actually haven't taken that step. The other big development we're seeing in the last 48 hours or so involves humanitarian aid here. The opposition says that, and the United States government indeed says that humanitarian aid, will be assembled at 3 points around the Venezuelan border. Now, that will represent a challenge to the security forces, really, that man those borders. Do they let that aid in or not? President Maduro says he does not require aid, but many international aid agencies say there is a humanitarian crisis here, so that aid will be required. Now, if he says that he won't let the aid in, but it is there on the border, those security forces will have a choice. Do they let the aid in, or do they decide that to obey Maduro? Either way, it's a sort of lose-lose situation the opposition hopes for Maduro, because if the army does let that aid in, then he has lost control of his borders. If they don't, he is seeming to take an extremely hard line while the situation here deteriorates.
So, Stephen, how's this going to play out? Can Maduro survive this?
Well, lots of people have written President Maduro off over the last 6 years, and they've all obviously been proved wrong so far. But I think it's fair to say he is in a very difficult corner at the moment. Why? Well, a lot of factors are against him. But crucially, really, this opposition move. Juan Guaido, almost completely unknown. His emergence does seem to have, to a certain extent, wrong-footed Maduro and his senior advisors. He has come from nowhere, and he has a very, very simple message. He's uniting the opposition, and that simple message is Maduro must go. He is also backed by most of the major Western democracies. That also represents a threat to President Maduro. And they're not just backing Guaido, they're saying this man is the legitimate president of this country. So it seems very difficult to see how Maduro will continue and how the Western democracies would reverse that position. They would have to sort of somehow accept a sort of pariah presidency on the part of Maduro. The other big challenge for him involves the economy. It's long been mooted, but it's never really happened, and that is major US sanctions against a key part of the Venezuelan economy. The Venezuelan government has said it's sanctioned for a long time. Now it really is happening. Last week, the US Treasury said put sanctions on PDVSA, the state oil company. That is the main cash provider for this economy. This economy is already in total collapse, and the feeling is that this is potentially going to push it across the precipice just when the opposition is particularly powerful. So he's definitely in a vulnerable situation, but as I say, he's often been written off before, and he's tended, and he obviously has survived so far.
Thanks, Stephen. That's CGTN Stephen Gibbs reporting from Caracas.